All right, welcome back to Rise to Liberty podcast. If everyone could do me a favor and hit that like button, that does more for the channel than pretty much anything else. And otherwise, welcome back, Reed Coverdale. How you doing tonight, Reed?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks for having me on the show again.
Yeah, dude. I was like really kind of trying to plan to either get you at the first of the year or towards the end of the year, with just like everything going on. I was watching Four Horsemen the other night, and you were just commenting about how much has happened throughout the year. I mean, like right now, Balenciaga. We got the second day of the Twitter file dump, which shows federal collusion with Twitter, and I mean we all knew that. And oh, do you hear that on your end?
Hear what?
Nope, we're good then. Never mind, it went away. Some like weird feedback. Anyways, and then Kanye, like what the hell was up with that? Speaking of which, did you ever find out who they is?
I don't know. Who is they? That's the question.
They, them.
They, them. Yeah. That's my favorite meme that's come out of this is when someone says, I identify as they, them, and then it just shows Kanye's face. But who's they, though?
It's just, oh, man. How do you feel about the whole Kanye, Alex Jones, or him just doing his thing?
So, I felt like initially maybe it was a little bit productive because he wasn't saying, I mean, he was tweeting, so he was saying some provocative things, but it could still be like, okay, well, he's raising valid points about some stuff, and look at how quickly he's getting canceled for saying some of this stuff. But then, when he went on Alex Jones and I mean, it's not twisting it to say that he praised Hitler, whether he was just doing it for shock value or he was sincere. Like, he did do that. I mean, I watched the whole show, and he did it 2 or 3 times. Like, it wasn't just offhanded comments that they clipped out of context. It was Alex Jones, like, trying to get him to say, no, you don't really like Hitler, though. And he's like, no, I actually do like Hitler. Like, he... So I feel like any positive... any positive reaction that we could have hoped for is basically gone now. I think that just basically flushed any. I mean, yay, Alex Jones, the Zionist cabal thing, right? Like he just ruined it. Like there's a real thing there that exists, but if you start praising Hitler and acting like the Nazis were actually okay, then it's all done. And for first of all, because Hitler did suck and the Nazis were really bad, but also it just completely discredits anyone who would ever listen to you. So I feel like it's just a dead end now. Like, I think I'm not sure he's going to continue to be a sensation. I feel like, Donald Trump kind of broke the paradigms with the McCain stuff, like saying that John McCain wasn't a war hero and that he likes people who weren't captured. I remember thinking that was going to take Trump down. Obviously it didn't, but I think the praising Hitler thing is still off the table enough to take somebody down. So I think this could be the end of it. I don't know. I guess we'll see, or at least the end of anyone caring about it, but I don't know. Could be wrong.
I don't know. My first question is why does anyone care what Kanye West has to say? Like, I mean, I don't dislike the guy. He has good music. He's not, the next generation's, like Rolling Stones, like he thinks he is. But I'm just like, it didn't really surprise me or even really shock me all that much. I was just like, why does anyone even care? But I did find it a little weird that it kind of seemed, and I'm pretty sure he's not doing this intentionally, because it seems like he's being earnest. Like whatever the hell he's doing, he's being him. And I did just find it weird that like there's now this connection to criticizing like Zionism or, legitimate criticisms of Israel or Judaism as a religion, but now it's tied to him bringing the Bible. So now it's like this whole like Christianity, Judaism, like far right Christian fundamentalist nonsense.
Yeah, it is an interesting dynamic how it's all unfolding. I mean, I would love to see the Christian right break from Zionism, but I feel like this is not the way to convince people to do it. I don't think most people are white separatists, like even right wingers. I think most of them think it's silly and stupid. And obviously, I'm not talking about Kanye here. I'm talking more about Nick Fuentes and stuff he's said. And like, a lot of Nick's followers, like some of them end up over on my channel commenting, and people like that end up in my Telegram chat, which you're also in. And people are like literally complaining about marrying someone of a different race. Like that's something that's popped up in my Telegram chat like 3 or 4 times. People complaining about race mixing over the last, 100 years or whatever. And the number of people who actually care about that, I think, is just so low. Like it's lower than the amount of people who care about libertarianism. Like at least Libertarian Party is the 3rd largest party in the country. Like the amount of people who actually care about, the amount of like non-woke people who care about race, I think is really low. I think most people just like don't care about it at all. I
agree.
So I don't think that like the Nick Fuentes wing of Republican politics is going to be successful. I don't think so.
Well, I think they could have had a chance if they would have kept Milo, but I think Milo also had his own alternative, his own agenda that he was definitely using. Well, I mean that's what Milo does, from everything I understand. Obviously, I don't know the guy personally, but he likes blackmail and black guys. So it's like that's everything I pretty much know about him. Is he's like a Trojan horse that he will literally do anything and everything to get whatever he wants, regardless of the ends or the means. But he does have that he does have the experience politically. So I think if it wasn't that, they probably could have made something decently successful. But I mean, Nick, he just seems out of his element. And Kanye seems like he just he's like ideologically like just vulnerable, like he got a taste of the red pill and then he decided to eat the whole red pill bottle in one weekend.
Yeah, it was interesting. Did you see that clip of Alex Jones denouncing both of them to Steven Crowder?
Yeah.
That was interesting. Nick Fuentes, I hadn't watched anything about him until this year. Like I'd always heard his name, and it was so funny. Like last year when people were calling me, like a Nick Fuentes fan. I mean, Nick Fuentes blocked me on Twitter when he had a Twitter account because I forget what I said to him, something about Trump probably, but he blocked me. And, I didn't even know anything about him other than that he pissed off all these lowberts all the time. That was the only thing I knew about him, and that they all said he was a Nazi. And then I went to an event where he was in Vegas this year, and I took a picture with him and Patriot J because it was a funny troll because Patriot J is a black guy who's friends with Nick, by the way. And then I watched this documentary at this event about him. And I was like, okay, this guy seems kind of overrated. Like, I don't really understand why people hate him so much or why people like just love him so much. And then I saw him on Alex Stein's show, the Conspiracy Castle, and kind of the same thing. I was like, what is the big deal with this guy? Why is he so volatile? And I've seen clips of him saying stuff about the Jews and saying stuff about race, and I don't know if it's serious or if he's trolling. And so I don't really know what he thinks. I don't know if he is legit a white separatist or was a white separatist or white nationalist, or I mean, he's pretty nice to black people for being a white supremacist, like when I met him. It almost seems like a big troll, like a big joke on everybody.
Well, I mean, he's like what, 24, 25?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was saying all kinds of terrible things at 24 and 25 just to get a rise out of people.
Yeah, I mean, so I don't understand the need to condemn people. This really pisses me off in general, like not just with this type of stuff, but with the other type of stuff. So like, you remember when Thaddeus Russell said that super cringe shit about basically child sexual relations or whatever? I don't know if you were paying attention. Like, I don't know Thaddeus Russell, never have had him on the show, never talked to him. I have zero compulsion to like go out of my way to condemn him, but you had so many people like coming out of the woodwork who had probably never talked to him and never said anything about him in their lives, and I went, I condemn Thaddeus Russell. And it's just like, why? Like, why bother? What condemning somebody doesn't? It's not like it gives a space to protect children from pedophilia or something. That's not what condemning someone does. All condemning somebody does is make you feel better about yourself because you're just virtue signaling to a bunch of people about something that someone said that makes you uncomfortable. Even if it's something terrible, like even if if Nick Fuentes had blatantly said like the Holocaust is a good thing and it should have been like why do I care if Nick Fuentes said that? Like, it's one thing if somebody like, I don't agree with a lot of views of people who have been on my show, but I don't feel the need to, like, if I have Abby Martin on, I don't feel the need to be like, oh, by the way, I totally disagree with you on economics and I think you're nuts. Like, why would I do that? I mean, it has nothing to do with what we're talking about. And then even if she says something I disagree while we're talking, like, I don't necessarily feel the need to go out of my way and say, no, you're wrong. I disagree with you on this. If someone accuses me of like saying I agree with somebody on something, then I'll just be like, no, I don't agree with that person on that thing. But going out of your way to correct somebody when it's not related to the subject or it's not the direction you want to go in a conversation, because I've had that happen too. Like Kim Iverson, who's kind of an interesting person, but has been more on the right on some of the issues lately, but was definitely like a left winger before. I had her on my show twice, and the first time I had her on, she like wouldn't let me get through the conversation without arguing with her about Medicare for all. So I was like, okay, I guess we're arguing about Medicare for all. So I like had the debate. But I didn't want to talk about that. I had more interesting things that I wanted to, hear from her on. So I tried to steer the conversation in another direction. I just had Jackson Hinkle on a couple weeks ago talking about MAGA communism. And a lot of people in my comments were pissed that I didn't like tell him how evil communism was. And it's like, okay, I mean, I could have just turned this into a capitalism versus communism debate. But it's very uninteresting. This guy has a lot of insights to DeSantis that I feel similarly about. So I want to hear why he thinks Trump is going to be a savior of humanity and, why he hates DeSantis so much. And then exploring like him taking over the Communist Party or whatever. It was kind of hilarious. I don't know if you saw that show, but it's kind of funny. I was kind of laughing at the end of it. It's like, this is hilarious. You're taking over the Communist Party, whatever. But people just love to get outraged and love to come and foaming at the mouth to you and say, you didn't do what I wish you had done. And that makes me mad. And I want you to know. And it's like, well, okay, you're just going to have to get over it. But there's nothing more petty to me than condemning someone who has nothing to do with you and you're not part of the conversation at all. Just coming out of the woodwork and being like, oh, by the way, guys, I condemn this thing. Like, wow, you go, buddy. You know, it's just ridiculous.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I can't stand communism. I will gladly talk shit about communism all day, every day. But if I bring a communist on, whatever vein of communism they want to pretend that they are, then I'm not going to like sit and berate them about their belief. Like there's a reason I brought them on. I'm going to talk to them, and if all we did was just shout at each other about what we don't like, then like obviously conversations are never going to go anywhere, and we're never going to get anything done.
Sometimes there's time for that conversation, right? Like if you want to explicitly have someone argue with them, like that can happen sometimes. So like Jason Burmis, I had him on. But before I had him on, I told him, hey, I do kind of want to argue with you about Flight 93. Like, I think a plane hit the ground in Shanksville and it was hijacked. And I think I have some evidence to, prove that it did. And he agreed to come on and talk about it. So I wasn't like blindsiding him. I wasn't like, hey, Jason, huge fan. Will you please come on my show? And then just like trash him. And I let him talk. And I also, some stuff that he kind of pushed. I was like, whoa, dude, come on. Like, no, that's not the case. That's not really what happened. But a lot of people have a more vindictive, like, hateful approach and, like, just want, information all the time. I think it's just really counterproductive. Like, no one, or maybe not no one, but very few people are inspired by someone who feels that way. And they're also, they're less likely to, they're less likely to change their mind if someone is just cruel and mean and obviously stuck in their own ways. If someone is more willing to have a conversation, I feel like that's more conducive to changing somebody's opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I completely agree. I don't know. It's not the right climate to be shutting down debate. I mean, just because you don't agree or whatever doesn't mean you have to walk away butt buddies or whatever. Like, you can still just come together and just, state whatever you believe, It doesn't have to be confrontational 100% of the time. I mean, if it is, then that confrontation kind of loses... It loses the point of when things are supposed to be confrontational. So, like, yeah. I get it. I'm human. I like drama to a certain extent, as long as I'm not involved. But it does get old if you're taking 1,000 bites of the same thing. You tend to want to eat something else. So I don't know. The political conversation sphere is has been pretty weird. That does actually lead me to ask you though, what do you feel like you have like some of your biggest W's this year and some of your biggest L's? Like, what have you learned? What have you like lost at? Like, where are you at this time of year versus at the beginning of the year?
Let's see. So a lot has changed. I've moved from Utah back to New Hampshire. I also quit my trucking job. I'm still technically trucking, but it's a little bit less driving and more. I'm running a vacuum truck, which is, just for people who don't know what that is. If you have pipes buried in the ground or some underground service that you don't want to hit with an excavator or an auger or something, what a vacuum truck does is it has this big, huge vacuum on the truck, and you have a power washer and an air wand that just kind of loosens up the dirt and turns it into a slurry, and then it just gets sucked right up into the vacuum truck. So I actually dug like a 20-30 foot trench today with that thing, and it just sucks all the dirt right out from around the underground utilities. So that's what I'm doing now. So the equipment, we'll see how it was covered from head to toe in mud today. So, I didn't really have that when I was driving truck. But anyway, biggest L's. Let's see, biggest L's. I mean, I had a pretty, I don't know, man. I mean, it's been a pretty good year. Like, I haven't really been that. I can't think of a moment where I was like, wow, that was really, really bad.
I mean, how many Twitter accounts have you lost this year?
Oh yeah. I mean, I can think of some W's, like the Meghan McCain tweet. That was controversial, but it was certainly a W. Like, that was a moment where yeah, I really felt good about it. I mean, at first I was a little iffy on it, but then afterward I came out thinking like, yeah, no, that really was an exposing moment. Really showed where everyone stood on everything and who really hates these people and who doesn't actually really hate these people that much. Like Caitlin Johnstone, renowned leftist, came out and wrote a Substack article about it. Cassandra McDonald from Tim Cash, she was hugely supportive of it. So there were people on the right and the left. And then there were some people who like try to consider themselves shit posters or like edgelords, and they were pearl clutching over it. So that was it was an aligning moment. It showed where a lot of people stand on a lot of this stuff. That was the most defining moment of this year for me, for sure. Like when that tweet blew up and gained international news. And we've had several tweets that have done that since then, but that one, like, that was, it was a weird moment because so much reaction that I did, that took a little bit of thought, but not like that much, and it really, I was for a while like, wow, the repercussions of this could be huge, and I think most people have forgotten about it by now. Like, I think people kind of blew it out of proportion, but for a little bit there, it was a big fucking deal. So L's and W's aside, I'd say that was like the most, I mean, it wasn't a complete W either. There were some drawbacks to it, some things about it that were just good learning experiences that taught me things that I didn't realize before. So I don't know. It was definitely a learning moment and an important moment, and the one that sticks out the most throughout the year, I'd say.
Honestly, I think that was like regardless of whether somebody loves it, hates it. Personally, I loved it. Loved it for so many reasons. For first of all, it's true. That's my major like driving factor is like what is true in a world where like we're just like surrounded just by like propaganda and just flat out lies. It's finding the truth and whatever that means is so important to me. And that really like drew a line in the sand for me because it exposed people within the party, outside the party, and it was just ridiculous all over the place, And I think it's exactly what the party needed. But the liberty movement in general as well. People need to understand that we will not be. Let's see here. Sorry, still getting that feedback occasionally. Let's see. All right, that's weird. Not sure what's going on there. Anyways, if that keeps up, we'll see if we can both dip out into the green room real quick and come back or whatever. But
okay.
But yeah, it was just so interesting. I like so many people I thought would have been like, "Oh, that's tasteless," but I agree. They weren't having it, period. And it was just so shocking to me. But I now know who I think actually like takes the shit seriously. And that's just honestly one thing I was thankful for. because in such a I hate that the Libertarian Party gets called the big tent party. I think it should be a much smaller tent, but it's interesting the wide range of people. It's not like a lot of people, but the range of just personalities and outlooks and everything is pretty interesting, and kind of nice to know who you can side with when shit gets tough.
Yeah, I think a lot of people want the Libertarian Party to be the forward party, basically. So, not really stand for anything, just not be the Democrats or Republicans, and just be a third option you can select. And that sounds to me exactly what the forward party should be. But the Libertarian Party should stand for something if it's going to exist. And I don't know. I don't think we should be like anti-war Republicans or pro-gun Democrats. Like, I think we should be libertarians, and libertarians are pretty radical, and they realize who has destroyed the world. The McCains, of this world, like the neocons, the military brats who just advocate for endless war, who are never going to send their kids themselves, or like, those are the people who they're just the scum of the earth. So I think we should be sending strong signals about the type of people we want. And I would take I'd take 100 people who are staunchly anti-war and really hate the neocons and the government over 1,000 people who just want a third option on the ballot.
I don't think we're that radical, though. I think we are personally the sane, like, normal person option. It's the war machine that's fucking radical. That's fucking insane. Like, whatever the justification for whatever conflict, whatever bombing raid they decide to go on, like, whatever the justification that they have, that is absolutely insane. To be like, I've got to kill people to be able to reach these ends, to make my shareholders happy, or to appear strong in front of a bunch of idiots. Like, I mean, that's radical to me. And the anti-war position, that's normal to me. That's how everyone should be. So
yeah, that's the paradigm through which we should be viewing this, but unfortunately it's not. And I think it's going to take some shock to get people out of this rut. Like, I mean, we can talk all day about the facts, about how many people are killed, how many bombs are dropped. And to most people passing by, it just looks like, a spreadsheet. It's just a statistic. So they're like, why should I care? But if you can evoke some sort of emotional reaction over something you say, then their emotions are triggered and they're emotionally involved in the conversation. And then, you could show them a video of an airstrike on a civilian house with a kid dragging himself around with both of his legs blown off and his guts coming out behind him as he drags himself around the living room floor. And then they're already in an emotionally charged state from, tweeting a picture of someone crying at their father's funeral. And then you could flip it around on them and say, oh, well, yeah, look at this. Like, this is what these people advocated for. And I understand that's not the only way to do this, but to me, the endless spreadsheet of number of bombs and number of dollars and number of deaths hasn't really done anything. And it's also available to the public if they want to see it. So I think using different forms of messaging, especially if it gains attention, which it undeniably did, I think it's something we should at the very least consider. Like, I mean, we're losing this battle so badly. There are so few of us. and we have so little in our arsenal. We should be throwing all of it at the wall and seeing what sticks and going
Yeah.
with, whatever works best.
No, I completely agree that now is not, like I was saying, now is not the time to pussyfoot around messaging or, radical political strategies. Like, and been having this thought. So obviously, a political party, like the whole point is to get people elected, and as much as I agree with that, like on like a definition level, I don't inherently believe that the Libertarian Party as a political party is 100% bound to that. Um, I think because things are so dire, um, we can pretty much do whatever it takes, whether that's running campaigns, influencing politicians, whatever, just whatever it takes to stop the incoming hell that is going to be brought down upon everyone. And so some people would definitely disagree with that, but we've been trying this this election cycle thing for federal politics, which I thought from the very get-go all libertarians thought federal politics were completely fucked. So it's like that's where I was starting. It's like there's no federal political solution because the swamp is so deep and so corrupt.
Yeah. So the thing to me is you can run as a Republican without sacrificing any of your values, and you can win, right? Like, especially on a local level, especially in the right state. Like in New Hampshire, there were like 100 people who were basically libertarians who won as either Democrats or Republicans or independents. Not a single big L libertarian got elected. And there might have not even been any independents, now that I think of it. It might have been all mostly Republicans and a few Democrats. So given that that is the case, there's not really an argument to run as a libertarian if you're running to not step on people's toes and you just want to win. Like, why? if you don't want to step on people's toes and you want to cater to them and you want to be a more sensible, like, respectability candidate, you should absolutely run as a Republican. And more power to you. Like, the thing is, like, so Bruce Fenton in New Hampshire here, he ran a respectability politics campaign as a libertarian, but he was running in the Republican Party. And he didn't say provocative things like Jeremy Kauffman. He didn't make joke ads. Like, it was all very serious, very professional. And he didn't win. But, I voted for Bruce Fenton. I'd rather have someone like that. But if you're going to run as a libertarian, you just know you're not going to win. Like, it's more about sending a message, more about being a middle finger to those two parties who just screwed you over. So why, imagine, like, look at Chase Oliver. Congrats to him for throwing it into a runoff election, but what message is he really sending to the other two parties? Like, it's been really hard to track, like, what his message is to them. At least from what I've seen on Twitter. Like, he should be extorting the hell out of both of those candidates. Like, look, if you want me to formally endorse you and tell the people who voted for me to vote for you, like, let's talk. And, kind of like Shane Hazel did after he had the same scenario. And maybe Chase has done that, but he blocked me on Twitter, so I can't see him personally anymore. But when I saw him, it was mostly just arguing with other libertarians that they're too racist or sexist or homophobic or whatever. So, like,
it's the same thing.
At least Jeremy, who got about the same percent of the vote as Chase, at least he sent a message that, hey, look, Republicans, if you want us to vote for you, you can't keep putting up these awful warmongers like Don Baldock. You just can't. We're not gonna even think about voting for you. And the ads that he put out and everything, those will live on in libertarian lore for a long time. So that to me is more valuable than getting 3% of the vote instead of 2%. Like, that's kind of meaningless. The only thing that would have helped is if you got 4%, because then we'd have major party status and whatever. But as far as like percentage, if you get 11% or 8% or 4%, that doesn't matter as much. Like Donald Rainwater got like 30% of the vote in Indiana in 2020. Does anyone remember him or like anything he said? Like, did he have any super meaningful campaign rhetoric that like lasts to this day that people talk about? Like, I think Jeremy Kauffman probably will for a while. Like, people will remember the "war is gay" ad for a long time. So when you're running these types of campaigns, like that type of stuff matters more than, oh, you got 3.2% of the vote. Oh, well, we got 3.6 and we got more signatures faster. And, that stuff is kind of immaterial to me. So if the goal is to not piss people off too much and then get elected and make systemic change from the inside out, I'd say run as a Republican and don't bother doing it for Congress or the Senate at a federal level. Like, that's just a waste of time, unless you're only doing it to get in there and then just have a pedestal from which you can talk about how much the government sucks. But if you think you're going to get in there and like actually turn that ship around, I mean, you might slow it down a tiny bit, but I mean, everybody is sold out. There's only a couple people who aren't. So I don't know. That's kind of my feelings on that whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, from everything I understand, it's like, high school cliques up on Capitol Hill, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, if we even got 5 libertarians in at a federal level, something that could be, vote swaying, they're going to have a target on their back. They're not going to be involved in anything. They're like, nobody's going to work with them. It is going to be rather useless, politically speaking. Not to say that it's worthless, but like in the grand scheme of things, I don't view that as important. Like that, oh, cool. Like we invaded a system that, wants a lot of us dead or enslaved. Like, cool. Yeah, we went in and we got into that club and now we can't even do anything. So we just wasted all that time, effort, and energy. Whereas we could have just done anything else, had a barbecue, like, I don't know. I personally believe that, all state parties, county parties, the national party, if we are running these campaigns, we need to be so tactful with who we run, when, exactly what race, because otherwise it's just a waste of time. I mean, the fact that Trump was able to get in and like, I mean, he's an establishment man. That the only difference with Trump is that, kind of like what Dave Chappelle said, is he like came out and told everyone, said, hey, we're all fucking you and we're going to continue to fuck you. Like that was Trump's big thing. His big draw was he was just honest about it. And then, well, kind of, but even he himself, who, maybe does 8 out of the 10 things they asked him, wasn't able to get anything done. So somebody who really wants to come in and like roll back power, there's no way. There's just no way. I mean, everyone has a much stronger ability to make change, obviously at the state level. I mean, I myself ran state House of Representatives here. For a campaign, I did pretty little. I didn't have like a whole army of people or anything. Definitely first time going through it, learned a hell of a lot. But even myself, I still got like 7 7.3% of the vote.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
so it was something. My vice chair Brian, he got like 29% in his race, and we've only been like an official established party for just a little over a year or so.
Yeah.
There's just, I think there's just better ways to focus the energy. Not that like we're doing things wrong. It's just like everything's just misaligned. Like we're not aiming at the correct targets.
Yeah. I mean, Utah might be different than New Hampshire. Like in New Hampshire, it is a waste of time to run for state rep as a libertarian. There's a guy who actually won running as a Republican, and then once he got in, he switched to libertarian, and he ran again, and he got 10% of the vote and lost. And then after that, he switched back to Republican and ran again, and then he won again. So, like, but in Utah, I mean, what did what's his name? Who's the guy that ran against Mike Lee this last time?
Oh, Evan McMullen.
Yeah. So he ran for president in 2016, and didn't he get like some crazy percent of the vote in Utah? He got like 20% of the vote or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. It was a significant percentage.
Yeah. So Utah, things might be different. And then if you guys could elect a libertarian in Utah at the federal level, I mean, that would really be huge. And then maybe that would cause a cascading effect where the game changes. But most places in the country, it's just like, I mean, Marshall Burt in Wyoming, he lost. He spent, I don't know how many $1,000s on re-election because he won sort of in a fluke last time, and he lost, didn't even get re-elected. So in lots of cases, it's just a waste of time. But I mean, hell, if you're somewhere where like there's an awful Republican and he's uncontested, like there's no Democrat running against him, and he can run against him as a libertarian or something, like why not? You never know. Like I feel like you're right that we just dump so much money into impossible races, and we try to spread it all out and be like, oh, well, we don't want to forget about this guy, we don't want to forget about this guy, this guy's running too, people. It's like, well, that guy can't win and it's a joke, so why should any of our money
that guy doesn't even have his shirt tucked in.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. See, like here in Utah specifically, it's interesting because like if we took the approach of running as a Republican, what's interesting is because we're such a deep red state that there's like a whole culture behind it. So not only would we have to get in just on the Republican name, but we would have to get into the whole culture of it. And so that just like adds a whole layer of complexity. And so, I'm not opposed to any Utah libertarian running as a Republican. However, I think they should be honest and, just let them as the constituents know, like, hey, I'm a libertarian, but I'm running Republican. We did definitely do better in this cycle than any previous cycle in memory. So there's something there. Times are a changing. Obviously, every state's different, which is actually why I look to you guys in New Hampshire a lot, because you guys, in my opinion, are extremely innovative. You guys aren't scared of trying something, especially with like the Free State Project and everything, which I'm still thoroughly convinced can be replicated other places, but it's not going to look anything like New Hampshire, because obviously different cultures, different belief, but the essence of Free State can be replicated in other areas. But it's going to take a group of dedicated people just like you guys.
Yeah. I mean, every place is different. You can't run the same style campaign in New Hampshire as you would in, Alabama. Things are very different there. The the culture's different. Also, the politics are different. So, like, if you're running against a Republican more heavily or against a Democrat more heavily, it's going to affect like your campaign strategy. So there's all sorts of variables that'll change your approach, and that's good. Like I think that gives us a unique edge because we can kind of morph our messaging. Like we can always be selling the same product, but use different advertising techniques. You don't talk about the same points when you're talking to a Democrat as you do to a Republican necessarily. Like there might be different things about your philosophy that attract different sides. So you don't lie and tell them you support something you don't, but you can kind of cater to each side without selling yourself out. And I don't know. I think that really is a unique thing about libertarianism.
Well, also we have nothing to lose, right? Like, what's it gonna hurt if we do something doesn't go well one cycle, or something that goes really well one cycle but doesn't work the next? Like, I mean, we have nothing to lose. We have no political sway really, and so it's like, I don't know. We should just be throwing all these things at the wall and just being like, okay, well, let's try this because we got the ability to do this. It's really interesting. It kind of seems like I think what frustrates me the most is there's very little learning from cycle to cycle. So one of my favorite things watching this past one was Shane Hazel. Once he got up on that debate stage, I was like, this is the best thing I think I've seen all year. That and the billboards for Jeremy Kauffman, like with that mushroom cloud. I was like, this is exactly, like, obviously that's not going to work everywhere. That might work downtown LA, that's something shocking and very visual. Might work here. I don't know, but there's things that we can do like that people haven't seen before, and we can afford to do those things.
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, we're at a stage where we're having basically zero victories and everything is going to shit really quickly. So anyone criticizing you for trying something different, I mean, eventually if you try something different and it doesn't work, you should give it up. But we're at such early stages that the whole like Libertarian Party trying to outdo the other two by just being more respectful and more professional or whatever, like, first of all, it never ends up happening. You always have the guy stripped down on stage or with the boot on his head or, do something. So you're always going to, or age of consent, even if it's someone super,
oh God,
like, I mean, there's always going to be something that happens. So like, that's probably not a good strategy to begin with. But, yeah, like, I mean, we don't know what's going to work. So, throw everything at the wall, see what sticks.
So we'll start wrapping up here since I know you got to go here soon, but just a couple more questions. Really, in your opinion, so gonna fluff your feathers a little bit. You're definitely one of these voices in the liberty movement that I look to, because you're just so like middle of the road without being milquetoast, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I like it.
So it's interesting because I see left, right, just all over the place, and it's just what makes sense to me. And so in your opinion, where do you think, at least broadly, the liberty movement as a whole, not even just the Libertarian Party, but the liberty movement, like, where should we be heading, or where should we at least be looking as far as options moving into the next year?
Like, as far as elections go, or what do you
honestly, just to expand liberty, because I think we're getting down to the wire to where it's not going to matter anymore.
Yeah, so I actually brought this up on the Four Horsemen the other night that I am going to be focusing my show a lot more on blue collar work and self sustainability, like getting skills that will benefit you down the road, not spending endless money on a degree that you're not going to be able to get a job for. Because in my mind, trying to elect somebody to decapitate the beast is just not going to work. I mean, I was talking to Jackson Hinkle about this. I was like, look, even if Trump is everything you say he is, like, there's no way he's going to be able to get in there and slow things down, even if he's had a change of heart. Like, doesn't matter. I mean, he can't, even if he wants to. The incentives are all built in. The money printer's just on full blast, and everyone running the show knows if it all falls apart, they're going down with it. So they're going to keep it artificially running as long as they can. So to me, it's all about decentralization and just, building up state power, not like, lowercase state like New Hampshire, not like the state, but just like building up locality power that can push back against centralized federal power, and, building up communities and families. I'm not a religious person by any stretch, but I do think that, taking people's culture and their faith and their family and flushing it down the toilet has caused a big, a lot of reliance on the state. I think, making people useless so they have no skills, making them lack confidence, making them scared to try anything, making them feel self-guilt about everything. Like, all these things have led to decay in society and a downfall in our work ethic, and just caused us to be more reliant on the Leviathan that we all hate. So I'm going to focus more on trying to get people down the right track, because I think that matters more than voting ultimately. Like, voting is just something you do once every couple of years. Like, what are you doing those other days of the year? Are you bettering yourself, or are you putting yourself in a position where you're going to be more reliant on the government? Because used to be in my intro, Larry Sharp said, when you add government, you by default remove community. That's a two-way street. I think as you add community and you build up people to be self-reliant and take care of themselves and take care of each other, that reduces the need for the government, and people won't feel as broken and shackled, and the need to have this giant welfare state. So I think it's more about making everybody their own state, basically. Like, make everyone self-sufficient, and then this stuff will start going away by default, instead of like trying to just convince people to vote for it away, because they're not going to vote it away. It's, no senior would vote against Social Security. No military member would vote against military funding. Nobody who could benefit from any of this stuff is going to vote against it. So instead, maybe we should start trying to get people self-sufficient so they don't need any of this stuff. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at it now. I mean, I've been talking about foreign policy and, conspiracy theories and stuff all year, and it hasn't moved the needle at all. Like, no one cares. I mean, some people watch the show, but it's like, okay, what can I do? Like, oh, well, so I'd rather be making an actual difference in people's lives, like a tangible difference. So I'm going to be shifting more in that direction in 2023.
So I think I'm like right with you on the same page. And it's kind of comes back to this, what is the purpose of the Libertarian Party or the Libertarian movement? And I've been having this thought for quite a while. We've already got this community kind of built around these ideas and everything. I don't quite understand why we're having our meetings or whatever. We can't also at the same time make sure everyone has like a bug out bag or, a few days worth of food and water to make sure, all of our party members are taken care of. We literally have a community of people that if somebody needs something, it shouldn't be that hard to track down or find it for cheap or to be able to upcycle or share or something. Um, it just seems to me that there is a disconnect in community, which is kind of what the whole ideology is based on, is our neighborhoods. And so if we ever plan on doing anything, we've got to be stronger than anything that they can throw at us. Well, a village is only as strong as its weakest link, and right now we're all broken links.
I'm going to be honest with you. I have never hated libertarians more than I have since I've joined the Libertarian Party. I mean, I used to think that lots of libertarians were kind of quirky or whatever, but I never had an intrinsic hatred of them until I got into the party. I mean, don't get me wrong, I've met some great people. I'm friends with Dave Smith, Spike Cohen, Scott Horton, Ryan Dawson. He's not in the party, but
Yeah.
The movement in general too, same deal. I've met lots of great people. I've also unfortunately met some of my heroes who turned out to be scumbags, and some of them who actually ended up trying to help people frame me for accessory to crimes, basically. There's been all sorts of crazy shit that's happened, and I've been accused of being a neo-Nazi, anti-Semite, by this is all libertarians who caused this. None of this would happen without these libertarians raising the alarm about bullshit and causing all this chaos, and then it sometimes bleeds over into things like the Southern... I've been written up by the Southern Poverty Law Center, and it's because of libertarians. It's not like the Southern Poverty Law Center just started paying attention to me for some reason. It's because the Fakertarians would say something about me, and then Gabe Hoffman sees it, and then the SPLC writes an article about it or whatever. That's how this stuff works. So there are great people in the movement, but god damn it, we got so many autists, so many losers who have nothing going on. And I think Pete Quinones talks a lot about how we need interesting, successful people if we want to have a successful movement. Think of most libertarians that and in Utah there were a good group of people, but I don't know if you've been to the national convention before or anything like that.
Oh, yeah.
When you go there, there's a lot of broken people and a lot of people who have never accomplished anything in their lives, who had to fundraise to get out to that convention, didn't have enough money to get back on their own, and the reason some of them are so anal about the Libertarian Party and not losing it to a new group of people is because it's the only successful thing they've ever had in their entire lives. The only thing they've been able to do is become chair of the Libertarian Party of Vermont. They can't even pay their own fucking rent, but they're chair of a party in Vermont. That is their crowning achievement, they've never done anything else, but they run social media for the Libertarian Party of, whatever state or whatever. Those people suck, and we have a lot of them. So, I think the biggest thing is, I've taken a lot of issues with Jordan Peterson lately, but, clean our own rooms, clean your room and make yourself more impressive before you worry about fixing the world. Can you pay rent? Do you have skills that can make you money? Do you take care of yourself, physically, financially? Do you take care of your family? Are you a good husband, father, brother, son? All this stuff is, it's all crucial to building a movement. Build yourself up first, and then the result of that is that you'll be able to build other people up.
Well, and we've got to lead by example, right? I mean, the ideas that we're pushing are, world shattering to some. And so if we're not putting our best foot forward. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And some people they shouldn't be out in the forefront. They should be in the back stuffing envelopes, making phone calls, Not that they're not important, but not everyone's meant to be, leader of the pack. And there's nothing wrong with that, which is something interesting. I think it's just American culture. There's nothing wrong with mediocrity, like in fact, it's totally okay. It doesn't make you less or more than or anything. So yeah, I totally agree. There's like this, in my opinion, I'm honestly white pilled in it. I think because I have no other choice but to be. If I want to still have anything to do with this movement and try to make it work in any possible way, obviously I'll never be able to influence Montana, or Arkansas or whatever, but I can definitely take care of here. I can build the culture here, work with the state party here, and take care of myself as best as I can, to give my best foot forward. Honestly, I think we should all be striving for just a little bit better so we can make the party better and, be the force to be reckoned with, which we all know we are, but we just don't have a lot of the traction, a lot of the show for it.
Yeah, man. It all starts with yourself. I mean, it's a very libertarian idea, like we're not collectivist, we're individualists, and as individuals, we have to get better. And if we do, then our movement will rise above everything else.
Yeah, that's well put. And I think on that we'll wrap up. One last question. This is kind of easy, and I thought it would be kind of funny. So, exactly what does it mean to be based, and how does somebody be based in 2023?
Yeah, so I think the actual definition is basically saying something that you believe is true, whether or not it's popular in the crowd you're saying it, and specifically when it's something controversial that you're saying in an unfriendly crowd. So if you if you're in a room full of atheists and you're a staunch Christian, you just say you're all going to hell. It's like, wow, based, like you're,
Yeah.
and it's kind of lost its term. I mean, lost its meaning because people overuse it all the time. But the way to be based in 2023, figure out what you actually believe. Don't just, what I try to tell people is don't just be a contrarian, because if you're just a contrarian, you're still allowing the establishment to dictate what's true, right? If you're always going to oppose them on everything, no matter what they say, then you're not thinking for yourself anymore. So, and they usually mix some truth in with some lies. So, try to figure out what you really believe and stand by it. And just don't care what other people think. I mean, it's really hard. Like I think of myself as a rather based individual, but even I have people that I really care what they think of me. And I had some moments this year where I really had to face that and be like, Reed, you got to stop worrying about what these people think. Like, you're your own person and you've got to be you. So think about what it is you actually care about and just stand for that. And it's the only way to be based.
Hell yeah, man. Do you want to give shout outs to where everyone can find you? What you got going on?
Sure. So I'm the only Reed Coverdale and the only Naturalist Capitalist on the internet. So Google either of those, I'll show up. I'm on YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all that stuff. Still hoping to get Twitter back. I doubt it, though, because Elon Musk leaked the Twitter files to Matt Taibbi, but then Barry Weiss was the other person. And if Barry Weiss has anything to do with this, there's no way I'm getting back on Twitter. I mean, if she ends up scrolling through the stuff I said, it's all over. So I'm not too optimistic about that anymore, but love to get that back. Until then, I'm at Coverdale Reed on Twitter.
I just made another account, got a few thousand followers, hasn't gotten banned yet. That's my 5th account I think I've made on Twitter. So you can follow me there, and then I got a couple shows coming up this week, and then after Christmas I'm going to be scaling back a little bit. Right now I'm doing like 2 or 3 episodes a week on my show, and then also going on other people's shows, and also going on the radio every Thursday night, and working full time. So it's kind of a lot. When I was truck driving, it wasn't as bad. When I was just over the road hauling heavy loads, because I could listen to podcasts all day and then just stop in the truck stop and open my computer and go live. Not a big deal. Here I'm like actually physically working all day, and then I have to go park the truck at the shop and then drive about 30 minutes to where I'm living. So it's just a little bit different deal. Not quite the same thing. So going to be scaling back, probably doing 1 or 2 shows every weekend. So probably like 4 to 6 episodes a month or something. And I'm going to really try to, kind of prepare for them. And I'm going to be doing a bunch of shorts. I'm going to probably just be uploading shorts of hydro vacuuming trenches and stuff, because it's a very interesting skill. It's kind of cutting edge, new deal for the industries. They're going to start doing it more, so I'll be uploading videos of that. And yeah, thanks for having me on, man. Good to see you.
Yeah, good seeing you too, man. I'm so glad to hear you're doing well. We definitely miss you out here in Utah. And everyone else, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll make sure to get Reed back on. Always one of my favorite guests. Like I said before, one of the voices in the Liberty movement that I definitely look towards, and definitely a thought leader for sure. Considering we've had a long run of people that should have never been thought leaders, Gary Johnson, and it's honestly great that there's this culture of people who can be messengers and also do it really well. And even though the libertarian podcast circle is a little flooded, I don't mind. Like Macho Man Randy Savage says, the cream always rises to the top. So without a doubt, everybody that matters will still be around, years from now. So thanks for coming on, Reed. Everyone else still watching, make sure you hit that like, share, subscribe, all of that good, annoying stuff that we always have to say. risetoliberty.com/links. You can find me everywhere. And until next time, stay free, my friends.